Hey, this is Kip Weston. I've had a lifelong fascination with adventure, whether that's climbing, mountaineering, or even diving into history. I'm obsessed with uncovering stories from extraordinary people, people who break from the average and become outliers. Now I want to share their stories with you. This episode, I'm speaking with Iain Innes. Iain is a wildly talented skier, climber, and outdoor athlete. Over the course of our conversation, there did not seem to be an outdoor hobby that Iain didn't have experience in or even excel in. He's a champion competition skier, runner, and climber, amongst many other accolades. Iain has a real talent for videography, and it was great to discuss that and his Instagram channel, at Iain Innes. Iain's YouTube channel, which I've linked below, chronicles Iain's latest attempt to cover 12 separate 4,000 meter summits back to back. Let's get into it. So, the first thing I'm drawn to is how many hobbies do you have?
All of them.
I couldn't pin down one hobby you have.
all the mountain ones. I don't know. I guess first I'm a skier. Then I go into a bit of running and a bit of climbing at the same time, and maybe some mountain biking, some road biking. I guess, yeah, skiing, climbing, and running. Those are the three main ones. And they're all kind of the same thing, right? It's just different ways of moving through the mountains. Like, I don't know. First, you're running along something flat, and then if it gets steeper, it's kind of scrambling. And then if it's steeper than that, then it becomes climbing. And I mean, it's all just ways of getting from A to B. And then guess what? If it's wintry and there's snow on the ground, you're not going to go run through the snow. You'll probably put some skis on your feet. But again, it's kind of just, I don't know. If you're a mountain person, you need lots of different tools to travel through that kind of terrain.
What percent of your house is just filled with gear?
Well, I guess when we talk about my house, I'd say my van is my house, and the percentage of my van, probably shouldn't admit how high of a percentage it is. Pretty high percentage.
No, that's awesome. So have you always been into the outdoors?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's safe to say. My parents are runners, cyclists, skiers. They got me into skiing. I guess it all kind of started from skiing. Started skiing when I was 2. And I guess the other sports kind of came, I don't know, I guess maybe I started like mountain biking, these kind of things, 15, 16. And then maybe from early 20s onwards is where it all got a bit more serious.
Yeah. And are you from Edinburgh?
Yeah, Edinburgh's home. I think Edinburgh probably always will be home. But Chamonix is starting to feel like a second home. I don't have a house in Chamonix or anything like that. I've got no formal ties to the place, but and it's never like a big plan, like, oh, I'm just going to go and hang out over there for 6 months. But no matter what I plan, I always end up going back there. And yeah, it kind of feels like second home.
Yeah, well, you can check all your boxes there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's perfect for it. I don't know, ski touring in winter is world class. The trail running is world class. The climbing is world class. It actually makes me a little bit lazy. I think it's good to go and see other places and just like explore a little bit. But when you're in Chamonix, there's no reason to leave. There's all these cool mountain ranges, I don't know, an hour or two away, over in Italy, over in Switzerland. There's so much stuff nearby. But then Chamonix itself has everything within 20 minutes. And so you never end up leaving the place. It's almost too easy.
Yeah. Are your folks from Edinburgh as well?
Mum grew up in Glasgow and my dad grew up in Newcastle, which is in England. But they came to Edinburgh for university, and that's when they met. And I guess Edinburgh's always been home for us, at least for the second half of their lives.
And how did they go about introducing skiing for you?
Family ski holiday. I guess they'd done a bit of skiing themselves. And yeah, 2 years old, between my dad's legs, I think he kind of just like held me there. Maybe I had a pole to hold onto or something that he was holding. And yeah, good luck. Go for it.
So you weren't joking when you said you started as a kid. That's about as early as you could.
I'm sure I could get you some pictures or something of me absolutely tiny. In fact, I remember the story was, I think we rented skis, or the first time ever that I rented a pair of skis. We picked them up the night before, and I took them to bed with me, and I slept with the skis in the bed because I was that excited about them.
Wow. So you just knew immediately you found a hobby you'd just be obsessed with?
Maybe, to be honest, I don't think much has changed. When I get a new piece of kit right now, like, usually I've spent like weeks or months researching this piece of kit. I know how much everything weighs, I know what all the materials are, and then it shows up and I'm like glued to this new piece of kit. So I've maybe not grown up that much.
That's awesome. Did you try other hobbies or sports in school, or were you always more into the outdoor side of the
I
world?
guess pretty much always kind of mountainy sports. Played some football, wasn't any good at that. I don't know if I tried much else, to be honest. I feel like, you do all the usual sports that you would do at school, uh,
Yeah,
but none of them really caught my attention or anything like that. It's definitely the mountain sports where there's maybe a little bit more freedom to do things your way,
yeah.
that I was most interested in.
And so in high school, are there groups of friends that you can talk into joining you on doing these? Or are you doing just expeditions with your family or even solo?
So I guess I've not really stayed in touch with any of my school friends. And I'm trying to think. Most of the people that I climb, ski, and run with are people that I've met through those sports.
Yep,
Whether that's through Facebook pages or being introduced by other climbers to each other, or Germany's a great place for meeting people because so many people that travel there alone and just are looking for partners for whatever sport is they're doing. So it's really easy to find partners, which is maybe one of the reasons why I keep going back. Like, you can go there with no plans as long as you've got all your kit. There's always going to be someone that wants to go climb, ski, run, whatever.
totally. Hey, how did you get introduced to climbing?
So I used to ski race, like alpine skiing, so like slalom, giant slalom, these kind of things. Um, and then I kind of got into some off-piste stuff and some ski touring. And then when I stopped competing in ski racing, I started coaching ski racing, and more in my free time, I'd go ski touring. And eventually, the ski touring I was doing started turning into ski mountaineering. It was steeper stuff, and I was kind of at the point thinking, well, some of this stuff's quite steep, or these are like places where maybe I should have a harness on and I should know some like basic rope skills. So I thought, well, what's the best way to learn some rope skills and all that kind of stuff? I thought, well, do a bit more climbing, maybe do some trad climbing, learn about gear placements. I figured all of these would be good skills to have. But the motivation for getting into climbing was very much I need to know how to use this kit so that I can go and ski cool stuff. But I mean, as with anyone who gets into climbing, I don't know, you get hooked on climbing itself. And luckily, I did learn all the rope work that I needed to learn, but I also got hooked on climbing. So here we are.
I get those are such great hobbies. I love skiing and climbing. How did you go about learning? Was there someone who was an instructor for you to teach the technical side of climbing, or did you just devour some books? What was that process like?
Well, this probably isn't a textbook answer. I'm not sure that I would like recommend going this way, but it worked for me. I'd say it was a 50-50 combination of YouTube videos and friends.
Yep.
Um, and probably half the information on both sides probably ended up being wrong, or I learned better ways to do things as time goes on. But I thought it was a good way to learn. It worked for me. I was very or I guess I'm lucky that I grew up in a period where there's so much information on the internet. There's so many good YouTubers, Instagrammers, whatever. There's so many people, guides putting out information. So actually, yeah, if you can sort through the good information and the bad information, that's one way of getting information or knowledge. And the other thing I was lucky about is I got introduced to some climbers who were much stronger and more experienced than I was right at the start of my climbing journey. And yeah, I think I was really lucky. Quite often when you get into climbing, beginners end up climbing with beginners. And I don't know, if you're an experienced climber, it's not as fun taking out a new guy. But I was quite lucky that, yeah, some more experienced friends were willing to climb with me, and picked up lots of good knowledge with them, whether that's having friends that are guides or just friends that have done a lot more climbing than you.
Yeah.
Getting like 5 years worth of information when you've only been climbing for a couple months is super helpful. So that if you were to ask what my advice would be for a new climber, it would be hang out with people that are better climbers than you. Learn.
That's good advice. That works for kind of any medium.
For sure.
Can you tell me about it, if there's a story that comes to mind where I feel like every climber has one of these where you feel like you got away with something while you're trying to learn all the technical stuff and you finish a climb and you're like, oh, that was lucky.
I'm trying to think. Maybe there's a few sketchy stories. I mean, we've all got sketchy stories, but most of them, I feel like generally, I've not had any big accidents. I've not had any big falls. I've not had any mountain rescue call outs. So, touch wood, been quite lucky there. Recently, so I just actually shared a YouTube video in the last couple of weeks. A friend and I, Finley Wild, we attempted to come up with something called the Spaghetti Tour, which is a link up of 18 4,000 meter peaks in one push, and even just completing it in one push is monumental. Never mind like the fast times that people are putting down on this route. But we wanted to have a shot of this, and I think we were fairly well prepared. We're both fairly well acclimatized, but I don't think we quite understood how big this thing was. And anyway, we set off at almost exactly midnight. I think it was like 20 past midnight, pitch black, going up into these mountains we'd never been to before. We had GPX tracks from previous people that did it, but and we'd read all the guidebooks, done all the homework we could have possibly done, apart from just climbing it in parts before trying to do the whole thing in a day. And the first peak went great. It was pitch black. It was harder than we expected it to be. It was more technical, but it all went smoothly. And then the second one, which I think we kind of knew was going to be the crux of the day, there was supposed to be some fixed ropes, a bit like the fixed ropes on the Matterhorn, for example, going up this route to the summit of Dufourspietz, which I think might be second highest in the Alps. I'm not sure. Maybe you can fact check me on that one. So here we are in the dark. Finley's out front, and he's like, I think we'd only taken one axe each for this because we were trying to go fast and light. He's like, I think this might be a little bit much for one axe each. And, we had lightweight aluminium crampons and stuff and like flexible shoes. We weren't in like big boots or anything like that. And so I said, all right, well, wait there. I'll come up to you. And I came up to him, and right enough, I don't know, in the conditions that we had that day, the fixed lines were basically non-existent. There was a few bits of like static rope, like frayed static rope hanging off a single bolt or something, but they were of no use whatsoever. And yeah, it was icy, and it wasn't like crazy steep or anything, but it was steep enough that one axe wasn't going to do the trick. And so I ended up leading this like mixed pitch. I took both of our axes, basically went until the rope ran out. We hadn't taken any gear or anything. Like, we had crevasse rescue kit, so I'd used like a bunch of like single snap gates on pieces of tat or bolts, or just like random things that I could clip into. Like, we didn't even have quick draws or anything. I was just using these single carabiners. Got to the top of the technical bit. There was a kind of metal spike that you could flick your rope around. Kind of half made myself safe on this. And then it was time to somehow get the axes down to him so he could climb up. And so we were going to send them the rope, attached to a carabiner, but all I had was a snapgate carabiner. I didn't have a locking carabiner. So we're up at like, I don't know, 4,500 meters, pitch black on a mountain we've never been to before. I'm 30 meters ahead. Attached the two ice axes to a snapgate carabiner onto the rope. And I'm like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, are you ready? And I'm like, I don't know. Send these two axes down, and they go like ting, 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 bouncing off all the rocks on the way down. And all I can think is, if even just one of these axes comes off the rope, we're done. I don't know. What do we do? Wait for daylight and call a helicopter? We only had a 30-meter rope. I don't know if we could even wrap down from there. Maybe we would have got ourselves out of it, but I don't want to think about what would have happened if one of those axes came off the line. Luckily, it didn't. He managed to grab both the axes. He climbed up to me. Things got a bit easier from there. And we managed another 10 peaks after that before eventually bailing off this route. But that was maybe one of the more exciting. Yeah. I think we did a good job of staying calm. I don't think either of us were panicked. And it was maybe only afterwards when we were both kind of discussing, like, yeah, that could have been the end of the day. But at the time, we were just like in the zone, both just doing our thing, found a solution, made it work, didn't really acknowledge how close
Yeah.
it was to ruining the day, but all ended
Oh, what
well.
a great story, man. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
No problem.
What, so you filmed that whole, did you capture that whole experience on film?
Didn't film that particular
Yeah.
part that I just told you about. There's no footage from that part. You know, it's funny. Probably the most interesting parts of the day are the bits should have been filmed, and they're the bits that weren't on camera because too busy just like stressing out and trying to find a solution. And like, yeah, like in the end, so we did 12 of the 18 peaks. We didn't even complete it, and it's a shame. The video kind of ends a bit abruptly. We should have stopped and explained you're going to skip the last 6 peaks because it was just getting so hot and there was rock fall and the snow was getting soft and all sorts. There's a variety of reasons we were low on food and water. But I thought, still had all this cool footage, and I almost like because we hadn't completed the full 18 peaks, I almost didn't share the video. But there was so much good footage in there.
Oh, yeah.
When you forget about this like stupid challenge where you've got to do 18 of them, actually doing 12 peaks in a day is pretty fucking cool. And we had a great day. So for the first half hour after the conversation I think I'd brought it up. I was like, I don't know if we're going to manage to like finish this today. And he was like, me too. I guess we'd both been thinking it probably for like an hour at this point before seeing anything. But yeah, good footage. And it was actually a really good day. So glad I made the video and something nice to look back on.
Yeah, definitely. How long does it take you to recover from something like that? Like you said, 12 is incredible.
Yeah, too long. I don't know. So I'd raced like 5 days beforehand. I'd done a trail race, um, and gone total like I was just going to be like a training race, and I got so carried away, and it didn't end up being a training race at all. I pushed so hard, hadn't recovered from that. Went straight into some acclimatization with Finlay. Then had like we thought the walk up to the hut the day before, trying to link all these peaks, would be like an active rest day, and that ended up being like 4.5 hours wetting in the sun.
I'm
It
noticing a
wasn't
theme
like
here.
yeah, yeah, just like I don't know. I just always in a rush to do the next thing and like never taking enough time off. And so I think going into it, I wasn't even recovered. And like this whole thing was like I don't know, nearly 2 weeks ago now. And I would honestly say until like 2 or 3 days ago, I wasn't back 100%. And I've really had to force myself just to like take it easy, just like run for an hour a day. Don't like I've left all my climbing kit in the Alps and I've been home for a week, and that was definitely a good decision. I needed a little break without all the toys. I've got running shoes and a running vest. That's all I've got home with me, and it's been good for me.
That's awesome. What does a typical training week look like for you?
I guess lots of the things I do, I do as training, but at the same time, I'm not following a program. I'm not working with a coach at the minute. I'm kind of just doing whatever feels right, and a lot of it happens to be really good training. Like I don't know. What does a typical week look like? When I've been at home, I'll probably run 1 to 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. When I'm out in the Alps, it's probably way more than that. Maybe when I'm out in the Alps, it's 5 or 6 hours of actual running, like trail running. But then there's probably 10 plus hours of mountaineering stuff. I guess you've got, rock climbing where you're actually moving slower and you're climbing. But this summer I've been doing lots of the easier mountaineering stuff, which although you're not actually running, you're definitely, your heart's up at 160 or whatever. So it's a
Yeah,
similar style of exercise to running. And I don't know, the lines between all of it are so blurred. But as an example, I think what are we in right now? Are we in August? Last month, I'd logged over 100 hours of exercise that month. So that's about 25 hours a week.
like a part-time job.
Pretty
Just
much, yeah.
sweating. That's
It,
awesome.
it feels full time.
Yo, yeah. And how about the diet? Are you pretty strict about what you eat?
I wouldn't say I'm strict. I would say I eat as literally as much as I can.
Yeah,
Um, like just, yeah, I guess I eat plenty of not so healthy food as well, but I eat lots of healthy food. I think I just eat lots of everything, and I don't know if my body in the mood for pasta, I'll have pasta. I guess as the most scientific I'll get about it is eating lots of carbs before something big, whether that's a big mountain day or a race or whatever, and then having lots of protein and meats and stuff after a big day. But other than that, it's very much just eat as much as you possibly can. Whatever it is, doesn't too much.
Yeah, I would imagine running an hour every day affords you a pretty big calorie deficit to chew through.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think I could put on weight if I tried. Like the amount that I eat is just ridiculous. I actually find it really hard going to because like I'll look at a menu and I'm not even picking based on what looks like the nicest meal. I'm trying to figure out which is the biggest meal, and like sometimes like next to the steak it'll say what weight of like how many grams of meat you're getting. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's the biggest one. Like I need to get that. And it's kind of stupid. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, large quantities of everything.
that's so great. I want to share, let me see if I can share my screen here. You have actually, let me back up. Could you talk about your filmography? I love your short films and just the way you record some of your Instagram stories is really cool. How long have you been into filming and photography?
I guess I've always kind of dabbled in it. I wouldn't call myself a photographer or a filmmaker. I feel like I'm just like playing around with cameras, and I
I would,
quite
man. It's really impressive. It's really
I
cool.
I enjoy it. Like everything I do, I'm doing for fun. Whether it's running on a rainy day or playing around with cameras, I'm not doing any of it because I think I should be doing it, or for a sponsor, or for social media. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it, and like I don't know. It's like when it comes to like skiing and climbing cool lines, there's two things that attract you to lines. I guess one of them is the quality of the skiing, or the quality of the climbing, or the quality of the rock, and the actual physical thing when you're on it. But actually, just the aesthetics, like looking at a line, like particularly with ski lines, you see these gullies that like are perfect straight lines across a mountain. You're like, you don't even know if it's like going to be good skiing, but you just want to ski it because you can see it from everywhere. Or like some of the climbing lines, they're just this like obvious crack up a rock, and you don't even know if it's going to be good climbing. It's just this perfect S shape, and you're like, oh my god, I have to climb that. And that kind of lends itself quite well to stuff because it's the aesthetics are one of the attractive things about these climbs or skis. Um, yeah, I guess the next part of that is you're doing it because it looks cool, but then how do you capture it and make it look as cool on camera? That's kind of hard. Like so many things look really cool in real life, but being able to film while you're climbing or while you're skiing and for it to look as good as it actually feels is like a whole nother challenge.
Yeah, in the technical challenges too.
Yeah,
Getting extra equipment, batteries, and
yeah.
like
But
focus, how
like
to focus.
I do so much of the stuff I film is with Insta 360 cameras. They're super easy to use because they film in 360, and then you can just reframe the shot afterwards. You don't have to worry too much about where the camera's pointing. Like with the I hate calling them selfie sticks because I sound like a total tourist, but they are selfie sticks. You use the selfie stick, stuff it in your rucksack or whatever. You can attach it to a ski pole, and then you don't even have to worry about where it's pointing. Just sort all that out afterwards. And I guess it's a little bit more work editing than like a GoPro, for example. But they just get like impossible shots. Like the amount of times people comment on things being like, "Is this a drone? Like, how did you film this?" People just don't get it. It's amazing. There's no other way apart from having a personal drone pilot following you everywhere to get these shots. And I don't know. I've not got the money for a drone pilot.
Speaking of, I have to share this on your Instagram.
Go for it.
Here's just a speaking of the GoPro 360, here's you going down the ski line. Yeah, how fast do you think you're going here? I mean, these speeds are
Hang on a second.
can you see
Uh,
this? Oh wait.
yeah. I had you full screen. That one. I mean, that one was definitely. I remember that quite clearly. That was this winter, um, because we'd been skiing this area, and most of the snow was really good, or all of it had been really good. And this must have been a slightly different aspect. I don't know, but stood at the top. One of my mates was filming, and the other one was behind me, ready to ski after me. Um, and I just remember when I dropped into it, I thought I was going to be able to put some big turns and like control my speed, but the snow was kind of like crunchy and breakable, and I couldn't really skid or like control my speed like I wanted to. So I hadn't planned to go that fast. That was like survival skiing. As soon as I started skiing, I was like, oh shit, this snow is not what I thought it was going to be. And it was just like, well, if I tried to skid and like chuck my ski sideways, I think I would have just crunched and tomahawked down the hill. So I feel like I don't often ski that fast. I'm a fairly conservative skier. Just like some days I'll get a bit carried away.
No, it's funny. I watched this. I'm like, I think there's gonna be a sonic boom at some point in this.
Yeah, there's another quite fast one somewhere on there. I'm sure it's even faster. If you scroll down to like last spring, I'll be able to tell you when I see it. A little bit further. Back up on the right. Yeah, right hand side now. That one.
This one.
This one was totally ridiculous. This one is a perfectly reasonable line if you ski it like a normal human being. But so I don't know which idiot straight lined it first, but somebody straight lined it and it became the fashionable thing to do. It's called Swedish Couloir. And because one person straight lined it, more and more people started straight lining it, including a good friend of mine. And so with another friend, he was like, oh, conditions look good for Swedish Couloir. Should we go have a look? And we hadn't really discussed straight lining it but we knew people had been doing it. It was obvious that we were going to want to try it. And I don't know. I wrote about it in the caption. I actually stood at the top of there. This is a ridiculous use of technology. I got my friend's Instagram, the guy who'd straight lined it. I got his video up, watched his GoPro video of him straight lining it, like to give me a vague idea of what it was going to feel like. So I'm like standing at the top of this line with my skis on, watching a GoPro video of him straight lining it, put my phone away, count down 3, 2, 1, and then straight line it myself. It was so, yeah, ridiculous.
That's awesome. If you're just listening, I don't even know how to describe this. He's over a pretty steep drop in, almost like a chute between two rocks, and you just rocket down this slope of ice.
Yeah. I should have, if you use the GPS remote for these cameras, it can tell you what your speed is. Like, I bet you that's over 100 kilometers an hour for sure. I don't know. Miles an hour. I mean, yeah, it's got to be at least 70. I don't know if it's more or not, but yeah, the proximity to those rocks is what makes it feel really fast. Like maybe on an open slope, you could ski faster and feel okay, but going down that, if you crash, you're just going to bounce off the rocks, and I wouldn't even want to think what would happen. You can't crash; it's not an option.
No, but it's a cool visual because the rock provide reference. Like sometimes with
Yeah,
those open planes, I'm sure you're going really fast, but it's hard.
yeah,
There's no frame of reference to see how fast you're actually going.
yeah.
Okay, and then I had this film I thought was really cool.
Aha, yes. That was a friend called Johnny Cook that shot that.
Okay,
Um, Johnny and his partner.
look at that. That's beautiful.
So they both had real jobs, and they left their real jobs to go and travel in their van for, I don't know, close to 2 years. They'd been to Morocco, they'd been to Turkey, they'd been everywhere. And I don't think they'd ever stayed more than 2 nights in one place. And I came to them, you need to come to Chamonix, you need to come to Chamonix. And they came to Chamonix and they ended up staying for 3 weeks. And that was the longest that they'd stayed in one place. They were like, I guess the same things that I say about it. There's just
Yeah,
so much to do there. And every time you tick something off your little to-do list, you like add 3 more things because you're just seeing more climbs or more skis or more runs or whatever. This was one of the last days of summer, and we literally had a morning, and I was like, oh, come on, let's go and shoot something on Mount Glass. Like, I promise you, it's all like icy and cool. And we had no plan whatsoever. Johnny is an incredible photographer and filmmaker, so I knew.
sorry, how do you know these guys? How'd you meet them?
Johnny's also Scottish. I think we met through Instagram. I think we
Yeah.
chatted on Instagram, and then we both happened to be in Andorra at the same time. I had some work, and this was at the start of his van trip. They were down in Andorra. And yeah, that was how we met. And yeah, like I said, we had no plan going up there. I just knew there was all this cool ice and I could run around, and I just trusted that Johnny would like come up with a plan on the spot, and he did. Like, I think less than 2 hours it took us to film this whole thing, and it was proper cool.
Are you serious? Less than 2 hours?
Yeah, I guess maybe if you include like, because you have to get the train up from Chamonix and stuff. We spent 2 hours
Yeah,
in the glacier, so maybe the
right.
whole morning was like 4 hours long, but it wasn't like it wasn't a full day or anything.
That's so impressive. Yeah, it's just beautifully shot. It's really cool.
Yeah. I need to do some more stuff with him. We keep talking about doing projects. Johnny, if you're listening, get your finger out, come back out to the Alps. Let's do something.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Your videography style and watching those ski runs and your climbing. You have a few other Mountaineer 360 GoPro footages that are so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just having fun, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes I've found when I'm hiking in beautiful vistas like that, it can almost wear off on you how unique and special of a place you're in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when
I,
you're in like hour 6 or 7 of it.
Yeah, and like I find so many people get used to it. Like so many
Yeah,
people, like after 5 or 6 days in the mountains, kind of get used to the views and stuff. And whereas like I don't know, every single day that I'm up there, I'm annoying for like my climbing and running partners because I'm just constantly like, oh my god, look at the view. Oh my. Like my girlfriend Georgia will run the trails in Chamonix. I don't know, we must have done some sections of trail like more than 10 times, and every single time I'm like, holy shit, have you seen that view? I don't know. I just never get used to it, never get over it. It's all of it's incredible.
that's awesome. Because yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. Where you're on day 5 or wherever of
Yeah,
some beautiful place, and it becomes your new baseline.
yeah. It's not good for you spending too much time out there.
Is your girlfriend into climbing too?
Yeah, she climbs, she runs, she skis, she does a little bit of everything. I reckon George is probably most into running. And then we started doing some kind of like alpine running or like fast and light mountaineering stuff together this summer. I think we'll probably pursue more of that next summer.
Yeah. Do you have any big mountaineering goals coming up?
No, I think I'm getting towards the end of this summer season and maybe kind of winding down. I've got another sky running race in Zermatt. I'd like to do a few more 4,000ers. I think at some point I would like to do a project linking all 82 4,000ers. Like I don't know, say in a 2 month period or something, or pick the best 2 months of summer and try and do them, yeah, all in one go, cycling in between them. Um, but I don't know if that'll be next summer or the following summer. And a few smaller FKTs in the Chamonix Valley.
What's an FKT?
A fastest known time.
Okay.
So they tend to be, I guess, FKTs came from running, and most of them are just straight trail running. But some of the more technical ones I'm drawn to, like a lot of the 4-year peaks of the Alps. The way they're traditionally set these speed records is they'll start from the church of the town at the bottom of it. So, for example, Kilian's records on Mont Blanc, it starts from the church in Chamonix, goes up to the top and back down to the church. And so all of the, or most of the significant 4,000ers in the Alps have speed records on them, and most of them are done from one church back to the same church. Um, and yeah, there's a few Swiss 4,000ers maybe that I'd like to try doing in fast style. Like I said, a couple smaller peaks around the Chamonix Valley I'd like to have a shot at. But yeah,
Would you describe yourself as a competitive person?
yeah, I guess I am. But I'm a competitive person, and I've been racing a bit this summer, but I'm not totally hooked on racing.
Yeah.
I am competitive, but enjoy racing. But like I thought, this was my first summer of racing. I thought I'd get like totally hooked on racing, and I do really enjoy it, and I will keep racing. But I'm not totally obsessed. Whereas the FKT stuff or the kind of like mountain speed records, that I really enjoy because, well, if you're doing a race, you show up on the day that the race is on. You don't get any choice, and they tell you what the kit list is. You have to carry 1 liter of water. You need a waterproof jacket. You need a compass, whatever. And you do as you're told. You follow the route that they've told you to do, and then you cross the finish line, and that's that. Whereas, speed records on mountains, you've got to check the weather forecast beforehand. You've got to pick the best day. You've got to pick the best conditions. Is that mountain going to be in its fastest condition in May or in August? Are you going to use running shoes? Are you going to use lightweight mountaineering boots? Do you need proper crampons, or can you get away with micro spikes? And for me, these sports are, yeah, I guess the races they're literally just testing your running ability and nothing else. They make all the other decisions for you. They tell you the route. They tell you what to carry. But
Yeah.
I think these sports are about so much more than that. You've got to be good at reading weather forecasts. You've got to know when the conditions are good. You've got to speak to locals to find out any variations in the route. You've got to, work with different brands to have different pieces of equipment for different sections of the route. How are you going to fuel? There's no aid stations. You've got to carry how many gels are you going to take? How much water do you need? You want to go as light as possible, but you want to have enough of everything. And so that is what I'm really into. So more of that stuff, I think, is definitely on the cards.
It's so cool. I love it sounds like you just love the whole process end to end. Like
Yeah,
from the prep and the gear, you're
yeah,
already
yeah.
excited before you've even started the actual.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, the kit's a big part of it, and I don't know. I mean, the kit we have nowadays, we're in this. I can't imagine what it would have been like trying to do the stuff I do right now, like 30 years ago or even 60 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like we're in this era where we've got like lightweight harnesses that are like, almost seatbelt material. There's nothing to them, and like carbon fiber poles that are like as thick as a pen, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, all of the lightweight kit that's available on the market. I mean, the weight of a lightweight helmet, they're basically just polystyrene. It's unbelievable, and it means you can do so much more. You can do bigger days. You can carry, you can take two ice axes, but it's still a pretty lightweight setup because they don't weigh that much anymore. It's
Yeah. Those
that's
alpine harnesses you can almost just fit in a normal pocket. They're so
yeah,
small
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
I wonder, do you think about like if our next generation will be saying similar things about our climbing kit? Being like, oh, I can't believe you guys used to race in this.
I mean,
They're just
it's
gonna have
hard to
like dental
believe.
floss.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that harnesses will get lighter still and helmets will get lighter still. Like, you must think we must be pretty close to the limits already. But then, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, that's what they were saying as well. Like, just the way technology evolves. I mean, it's scary to think that we might have lighter harnesses than we already have. They're already pretty lightweight, some of those things. So let's see. Let's hope they don't push it too far.
Yeah, just some like, spandex harness running up.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Sounds dangerous. I like it.
And what's a sky race?
I guess sky running is just like trail running, but more technical. So it tends to involve maybe exposed ridges or maybe crossing over sections of snow or glaciers. Some of the more technical sky races you have to race in pairs because either you need to be roped up for glacier crossings, to reduce the risk of falling into a crevasse, or yeah, on there's sections where you have like a via ferrata lanyard and you need to clip in. So I guess the short answer is sky running is trail running races, but for mountaineers.
Yeah. Can you talk to me about, so are you a van lifer when you live in the Alps?
Yeah. So right now, like I'm in my parents' house right now,
Yeah.
back in Edinburgh, and anytime I'm back in Edinburgh, I stay with my parents. Um, but yeah, the rest of the time, all through winter and then all of summer as well, just hanging out in the van. It's not a perfect setup, but it's good enough. I've got cooking facilities. I've got a fridge. I've got a heater for winter, and I can store all my kit in it, and it works. It would be nice to have a slightly bigger van, something I could stand up in properly. It'd be nice to have a full size double bed. Mine's a little bit short, I kind of sleep a little bit cramped. It'd be nice to have something that's insulated properly, but it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I managed the whole winter in it and didn't die, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah, it's just so cool how adventurous your life is. Like from your hobbies to even where you lay
Yeah,
your head down at night. Like it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's exciting. There's definitely no dull moments.
Yeah. Does that ever want for a dull moment? Or are you pretty happy with
Um,
how that?
Not often. I'd say, I had like 6 weeks in the Alps there. That was pretty flat out. I was kind of excited to come home for a break, but like I've had a week at home now. I'm ready to go back. I'm ready for some big mountains. Like, um, I don't know. We're lucky in Edinburgh that we do actually have hills and I guess some small mountains nearby. Like as far as cities go, we've got lots of green space, and I can go trail running. I can go mountain biking. There's climbing in the vicinity. But yeah, definitely. definitely right. Go back to the big.
Yeah. Did you grow up hearing stories about great mountaineers, or was there literature you got into that inspired you to pursue this life?
No, I don't think so. I think it came later on. It probably came, well, I guess, like I said, so I was a ski racer, then started skiing a little bit off piste just because that's like a
Yeah,
fun thing to do. Then you get into ski touring. And then it was only once I was like skiing some steeper stuff that I kind of like discovered ski mountaineering or steep skiing. And that was when like I really got into like YouTube videos and Instagram videos of like I don't
yeah,
know, French guides like Vivian Boucher or like Cody Townsend's 50 Project, these kind of videos. And I was like, holy shit, this is like a thing. People just do this. Like you can go and just ski steep stuff and just like mess around with ropes and like, oh my god, people are making a living doing this. Like not many people, but it's possible. And
yeah.
so like I don't know, that's the dream, right? Getting managing to you don't even need to make a living, just being able to survive without working too much and going climbing and skiing every day. That's the dream. So that's what I'm working on. Not quite there yet, but the dream is very much still alive.
It's awesome, man. I love your content. Hey,
Thank
can
you.
I do I have some speed round questions for you if that's all right.
Oh God, putting me on the spot. I'm feeling the pressure, but yeah, go for it.
Okay, least favorite climbing hold.
Like slopers or anything like yeah, open handed.
Yeah, I get that. I hate like dual textured. You played around with those in the climbing gym?
Yeah, okay, fair. To be fair, I've not been climbing that much indoors recently, so luckily I've not encountered
You
them.
don't find those in the wild?
Yeah, not so much. Well, some of the like popular routes they get quite polished, so it's almost like that, but not quite.
Yeah, good point. ATC or Gree?
ATC, 110%.
Mm. Oh, why so passionate?
No, I maybe got a little
No,
bit
just
too
kidding.
passionate. I didn't mean to get that passionate. There's nothing wrong with Gregory's. I like it. I'll use the Gregory
No
sometimes. I don't
passionate
know.
here.
ATCs are just so simple, no moving parts, no
Yeah.
maintenance. Like, yeah, they're straightforward, and yeah, I like them.
Scuba or skydive, if you had to choose.
Ooh, probably skydive. I quite like the idea of paragliding. Like, I want to climb up 4,000 and then fly off the top of them. And so, like, I mean, skydiving, not quite the same thing, but like the whole
Yeah,
using paragliders and wings, like, I've definitely got some curiosity there. You were asking about hobbies. That's on the list.
it'd be a tough one to fit in your van.
Yeah, I mean, there's always more room in the van. I'll make it work.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee. Coffee. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's two reasons I want to spend more time in Italy. One, climb new mountains. Two, drink more Italian coffee. It's so cheap
Yeah.
over there. It's like €1 for a coffee. It's unbelievable.
Do you do a lot of caffeine?
Too much, yeah. I quite like, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Particularly when I'm in Italy, I just can't help myself with coffees.
All right, well, this question makes sense to you. What is your Roman Empire?
What is my Roman Empire? God, I don't know. What are the options?
So, have you seen that meme where it's just like a random thought that pops into your head or a random subject that you think about pretty regularly?
No, I'm not sure I have.
So, it'd be just like some people just think about breath work regularly or just kind of a random thing that everyone would be like, really? You think about that often?
Honestly, I'm just thinking about like mountain stuff and like I don't know. I'm always like anytime I have an idea of like a project or a mountain that I want to like do in fast style or like I have like some kind of link, I have to write things down on my phone because
Yeah,
otherwise it's too easy to forget your ideas. And like maybe I'll write down like two or three things each day, and at the end of the month you've got 100 things written down, and of that 100 I'll only do five of them. But at least if they're written down, you can never forget them. And even if you delete them afterwards or don't end up doing them, like no stress. But just yeah, I like to
smart.
write ideas down. I'm not sure I really answered your question there, but I
No,
gave you
no.
some.
Do you listen to anything when you run?
Generally speaking, no. But yeah, maybe some podcasts and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I like climbing and running podcasts, any of that kind of stuff. Podcasts that discuss like Himalayan mountaineering, like I've not done any of that.
yeah,
Just like any sort of homework I can do on that, I think is interesting. Listen to some music every so often, but not really.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually my final one is if music should be played openly in the outdoors. Yes or no?
I'm gonna have to say no. If it was my music, then yeah, it's all good. But like other people's music just isn't as good as mine. So
That's so funny.
yeah,
And
that's what everyone thinks, right? That guy, there's always someone blasting music on a Bluetooth speaker. He probably thinks my music is so good, like everyone's gonna want to listen to it. And
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I've got enough self-awareness to know that not everyone wants to listen to my music, unfortunately.
yeah. Oh, I missed one. Cats or dogs?
Oh, I'm gonna say cats, low maintenance. You just like feed them and let them do their thing. Dogs, like I don't know. I've got enough stuff on my plate without having to walk them twice a day.
Yeah, fair enough. And so where can people find you? Is Instagram the best
Uh,
place to connect?
yeah, definitely. Most active on Instagram. That's my full name, Ian NS. I'm not even gonna spell it out loud for you. You can pop it in the notes or something, and people can find me there.
Yeah.
You can, yeah, YouTube channel as well. Not being very active for a couple of years. That I did just upload 2 weeks ago. I'd like to put some more videos out, and yeah, that's definitely the main ones. Go Instagram first, and if you want something a little bit longer, YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, that was super fun. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me. It was good chatting.
Hope you enjoyed this conversation. Subscribe to this channel for future interviews and check out Ian's Instagram and YouTube in the description below.